Excuse me, that's a lie. That's untrue. That's from the pit of hell.
The same people every other day, but we never say hey, cause we're never looking the way, or my face was in my notebook, we passed each other, didn't look. But these are the people of the towns, of the towns, the towns, of the towns. And large cities are just a bunch of big small towns, overlapping side by side, big small towns. I see new people every day. Everyone's on their way, doing the things that fill their day, and I'm going places too, doing the things that I do with my time. We are the people of the towns, of the towns, the towns, of the towns. And large cities are just a bunch of big small towns, diagonal, top to bottom, big small towns. Be nice to the people of the towns, once in a while look around, cause what's going around's coming around. What came around's coming around. What's going around's coming around. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big small towns. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big small towns. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big small towns.
Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do the show live most Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/EchoPlex Media. Support this project, eplex.store or patreon.com/EchoPlex. $5 a month gets you, I don't know, all the stuff. And if you do it at eplex.store, you get an automatic discount on all your purchases there. I'm Producer Dave. You can find me on Grindr.
With you as always, this is the Councilman. You can find me on the X or the Department of Homeland Efficiency at THE_Councilman. You can also find me in the club, bottle full above my mouth,
That last
getting
part's
drunk.
a lie.
Yeah, that's true. I don't go to the club, but I do get drunk when the time calls for it, and the time definitely calls for it right now.
Well, speaking of the club, we got something for leading off, which is probably not the club.
Yeah, you might be able to find me in this club in San Jose, but as always, someone is trying to revitalize downtown San Jose and bring more life to South First and other environs. I think this is like the 8th different thing to be in this particular space in the past like 8 years. But we're going to find out more about what they're trying to do from NBC Bay Area.
Well, it could be just what the doctor ordered for downtown San Jose businesses. A new entertainment center hoping to open soon and attract big crowds. Our business and tech reporter Scott Budman got a preview. And Scott, this looks big.
Yeah, Gia, it could look big, and I think it's going to do big things for San Jose if indeed people come. They have
Good job, Scott Budman. Fucking astute political analysis.
Yes, I think it will do big things if people come.
It's to open what they call the biggest entertainment center in town.
Each one of these barrels over here is actually a bottle service table.
Bottle service and live bands. Take a walk inside Pete B's new 11,000 square foot entertainment center on First Street, and you might be looking into the future of downtown San Jose.
What we want to do is reinvigorate, revitalize downtown San Jose.
A downtown that, like many others, has been struggling to bring people into bars and restaurants. B, an entrepreneur who has run restaurants before, wants to create an entertainment hub.
You also have
Nice. They showed a picture of a fucking empty festival. Did you see that?
Yes, the guy's name was B. They just said his name was Matt in the Chiron, but anyway, that must be like a nickname.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who it's named after.
Yeah, Pete B. Definitely not the councilman, that's for sure.
Yes, so we have a loft that we can cater to a special client.
Where techies and anyone looking for a good time come to hang.
Google, come. NVIDIA, stay with us. LinkedIn, come on in. We want you.
This is the evolution of what's going to end up being downtown 2.0.
Local organizers say they're eager to work with B.
Yeah, the goal here is just increase nighttime traffic. So the uses nearby, whether it's another bar or a coffee shop or,
I'm sorry, the San Diego State University Center for Artificial Intelligence has something to say about this. What the fuck, dude?
Local community leader, Aaron Elkins. Don't you know him? He and I we go way back. We're old bros.
Jesus Christ.
Open late at night, like Original Joe's, right? They'll get a lot of benefit from this from people afterwards, walking on down.
To boost both downtown.
I like to think Original Joe's is open.
Reputation, one show at a time.
When people think of a convention, a place to go, a place to wine and dine, they should be thinking about San Jose.
All right, Pete B says he's working with the city to finalize an opening date. He will be hosting an outdoor concert tomorrow as sort of an appetizer. Raj?
Outdoor concert like on the sidewalk? Like where exactly are we?
Yeah, on the sidewalk where no one will be. This is bullshit. Like that place, he's like, these are the bottle service tables. I'm like, how the fuck do you even sit around that barrel?
Truth. Wasn't it just recently a brewery like Uplift or something like this?
Oh no,
Uprise,
it was
I forget.
It was that one, we really liked it. They had this stout that we really liked. I forget the name of it, but yeah, it was like a brewery.
Yeah. So I guess now it's just a place where they serve beer as opposed to make beer. And before that, it was actually an arts facility. They tried to make it an arts, at least an arts hub. So it's been a lot of things, and it's not going away anytime soon. That space isn't slated for redevelopment, although down the street there is something that is. But yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. And how many times, right, Producer Dave, have we heard and we've talked to and we've met people who have their singular vision for what they think is going to bring people back or bring people to, let's just say, downtown, and just doesn't really materialize.
So they're putting the cart before the horse, right? Because they're like, we're going to build this giant place and we're going to hope it's going to bring people to downtown. No. You have to bring people to downtown and then somebody should put a giant place there.
Right. I mean, generally that's what happens, right? Like people are in a place and they need something. And so people create something, business owners, opportunists, but good-hearted people in the entertainment sphere, like they create something, they build a space for people to gather, right? And if it's not there, it sort of creates itself in a way. This is looking like a very much trying to like force the issue in a way, right? Without the demand, right? Without the people or the bands. Who are you going to book in this space, right? Is it going to be local bands? Are you going to try and get out of town bands? How are you going to compete with are you competing with the Ritz? Are you not competing with the Ritz? Are you, going to, try to work with them? So yeah, there's a lot of question marks here and not a whole lot of answers from Matt/Pete.
He told us he doesn't. It doesn't seem like he really wants the people of San Jose to go there. He thinks like Google's going to rent it out every 2 weeks or something. What a dumb fuck.
Right. NVIDIA, LinkedIn, come here.
Okay, that's great. You booked 3 nights every 2 years. Fucking congratulations. Right. Assuming that what the fuck is Google going to do there?
Right. Nothing. I mean, they might have and their convention isn't, I don't even know what their developer conference looks like, but regardless, it's not happening in San Jose. That's for sure. There might be more like conventions coming to, the convention center, but it's still, to my knowledge, has not really done anything to turn South First into, a destination zone.
So what does real well during the conventions? Post Street.
Really? Well, there you go. We'll have a story on Downballot next week then about Post Street getting perhaps permanently closed to traffic.
Oh,
becoming a permanent walkway.
There was no point in that being a street anyway. Should have been a sidewalk the whole time.
Yeah, so it's been under a temporary closure and now it's going to go into permanent. But we'll have that story for later. But
so we don't know. Like, it just seems like, I don't know. Does anybody who ever worked? He said he had experience in restaurants, but anybody that ever ran a nightclub work with him? Because you're not going to pay for bottle service at a thing that's like 2.5 feet around that nobody can sit at.
At a barrel, yeah, right. That's just the place where I rest my drink while I, I'm still going to be out in the dance. Like, I'm still used to being at a club or at a music venue and being able to order a drink from the floor, right? And there's a wait staff that comes around and takes orders, and it's hectic as shit. But you get a beer or a drink, and I wouldn't mind having a little barrel I could set it on. But I'm certainly not expecting that to be the spot where I'm posted up for the whole show. Maybe one of those couches.
I'm sorry. Am I the only? The inside of that looked hokey.
It just looked big. It looked really big. Just like a lot of spaces down there are warehouse. They're all warehouse or cannery or industrial spaces. So they're big. They're really high ceilinged and very cavernous feeling. And yeah, everything about the decor looked very straightforward and kind of goofy and hodgepodge and thrown together.
I think what you said about being big, it almost like it was designed to make sure that you knew it was big, and that's fine until it's empty, on a big night, right?
Right.
Where they have, I don't know, that fucking Jimmy Arsenault books fucking Poison or something. I don't know what the fuck.
Yeah. What are they doing in that big space behind those couches where there's just nothing, right? And there's not, you're kind of removed from the music venue portion of the space, right? What is going on back there? Where can people sit, hang out, chill, fights? There you go.
Power meetings between CEOs.
Sideshows. Bicycle sideshows. Well, yet to be seen. But it's a similar space to what used to be South First Billiards right across the street at down the street at 420 South First. And similar problem where it's been challenged. It's a very large space with a lot of ins and outs and nooks and crannies, and it's very difficult to make any sort of sensible singular space out of it. It's almost like one of those things where at some point we've got to think about converting these spaces to smaller, more manageable spaces that can be used for a variety of purposes, as opposed to just one.
I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it, but the way it was laid out doesn't even look like it was laid out for entertainment. It was sort of like it laid out like a kick-it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, very much so. Very much.
And
so.
that's fine for the afternoon. Maybe those couches move. Maybe those couches are on the little silicone things, and they get pushed back against the wall if there's a band or something.
Sure, but we like to wishful think, right? But I just want to see what kind of caliber bands is he going to get in there. He's got a nice little drum kit. That's nice. But,
yeah, I think. I mean, it seems like the guy has money, so there's no reason he can't book a big band, not like fucking Taylor Swift or something, but something with some draw. Maybe Fish will play there.
That would be fantastic. I would line up down the street, just myself and the other 2 fish heads in San Jose. We would be lined up very early in the day.
But the other thing, and it's very, very crazy because there was it wasn't laid out in any sort of way where it didn't seem like the area in front of the stage we want to call the dance floor was any kind of focus of the design. We don't have a top down of it, right? We just saw what the news captured, but it didn't seem like the even the shittiest fucking nightclub you go to, right? There's a clear space that is a dance floor, and it is like a focused part of the nightclub, right?
Yeah, it's hard to accomplish in that space.
Couches right in the middle of the fucking dance floor.
It's very hard to accomplish in that space. I think they're trying to do that and try to set sort of boundaries, but it's very hard to do in a space like that.
You know how you do that? You do what the Ritz did, where you have an area that's up, and then you step down onto the dance floor. Yeah,
it's just architecturally that would be more costly, I'm sure. Yeah. So they're trying to get the same effect done with couches and barrels. I've been to a lot of places that are big and it's clear to you where the dance floor is, right? Well, we'll have to go just so we don't throw rocks in glass houses or whatever and see what it's all about. We'll go. Yeah, our nightclub producer Dave, you and I will go on a scouting mission. Yeah, I mean our nightclub sucks. It's here on Twitch, so right. Sexy. All right. Well, moving on. I wonder if I can grift that guy. Anyway, I'll have to think more about this later. He seems moderately griftable. Moderately griftable is funny. Let's cruise on down ballot, shall we? Yep. Because we have a lot to discuss. That was a nice story to lead in because it's not related to the election, and almost everything else we're going to be talking about tonight is everything we wanted. All our people, all the way up and down the ballot, got clobbered, friendo. Got butchered. So this could also be called losers as opposed to just down ballot. Watch. So let's call this one losers this week, and then we'll have winners and losers. But for now, we'll just talk about losers. So leading off, one of our good friends and friend of the program, Evan Lowe, running against former Mayor Sam Liccardo for the congressional seat being vacated by Anna Eshoo. And Evan, to sort of encapsulate this race, in order to win this race, Evan was going to need young people. He was going to need people of color. He was going to need marginalized communities, low-income people, pretty much immigrants across the board, to come out in large numbers to counteract Mayor Liccardo's support from the whites and the old whites and the older whites and the Republicans, who also are a significant portion of the electorate. And unfortunately for Assemblymember Lowe, none of those blocks came out to vote in numbers that he needed them to, and this is the result.
It was one of the nation's most heated races for Congress. We're talking about two Bay Area Democrats right here. Tonight, NBC News is projecting former San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo has defeated Assemblyman Evan Lowe to become the next congressman for California's District. Look at that 16. Shitty turnout. Our Ian Combs is tracking all from both campaigns.
It's still growing.
Tonight, the contentious and costly race for Congressional District 16 in the South Bay has a winner. After a tie for second place in the March primary, a controversial recount, a lot of accusations about ethics violations by both camps. Tonight, a projected winner, Sam Liccardo.
I don't want to take anything for granted while we're still counting votes and while my opponent has not yet conceded. But we are obviously moving forward to do all we can to be ready to hit the ground running.
If the results hold and are certified, Liccardo would take over Congresswoman Anna Eshoo's seat. The Congresswoman is retiring after 30 years in the House.
Also, just one more time, good on her for retiring before she was like 114. My God.
She's getting there.
House today and expects to leave this Monday for meetings in D.C. The former San Jose mayor also says he's primed to take on the Trump administration if needed, but also hopes to find common ground.
So I'm going to be focusing on picking my battles. Certainly there'll be plenty of battles to be had, and I'll need to fight when necessary to defend democratic institutions, to protect reproductive rights, a host of other things we'll be fighting over, sure. But I also want to really clearly identify those opportunities to reach across the aisle.
Lowe has not conceded yet, saying he's waiting for all the votes to be counted. The race was one of the most closely watched among Democrats as Lowe finished the March primary tied for second place with Joe Simidian. A recount led to a change of just 5 votes and sent Lowe to the general election against Liccardo. This afternoon, his campaign sent us a statement urging patience for his supporters and expressing his gratitude to volunteers, adding, regardless of the outcome of this election, I am committed to fighting for our community's needs and will continue to better the lives of every American. Liccardo says his next step is to build a good team so he can hit the ground running when he is sworn in January 3rd. In the South Bay, Ian Cole, NBC Bay Area News.
Oh, motherfucker gets sworn in on my birthday.
Oh, well, let's just celebrate your birthday and not that, and we'll forget about that part. So unfortunately, this is the result of when, again, young people and people of color and immigrants do not vote. And their candidates get slammed. Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, the candidate I was working for benefited from all those groups coming out to vote the Republicans, the whites, and the old whites. So in a reverse way, I'm actually kind of happy about the demographic of the vote. But in all other aspects, yeah, it's kind of reflective of the national scene, and it kind of just galls me that Mayor Liccardo would even talk about reaching across the aisle given the circumstances of recent national elections.
I don't want to spend too much time on this thing, but it's like this thing that Democrats have been doing for a long time, where first they negotiate with themselves and then they negotiate with their opponent, right?
Right. And they usually they come in, you're supposed to come in a strong position. You end up coming in at pretty much like your bottom line. And of course you get that negotiated away, because if that's your beginning stance, like that's negotiation, you're going to lose a bit. So
the Republicans are all meet me halfway, friend, and the Democrats are like, I already have.
Right. Yeah. Oh, sure. I'll meet you all the way. Why not?
They say meet me halfway as they take a step back, and the Democrats go, "Oh, I'm going to chase you."
Yeah. But we want to get things done, Producer Dave, for the American people. We have to make some sort of progress, as minimal as it might be. Anyway, yeah. But I mean, the end of the day, in the greater scheme of things, I think we already talked about this. It's not terribly consequential. Either one of these candidates would have voted the Democratic line just about across the board anyway. There's going to be very few instances where, Mayor Liccardo hopefully is going to jump on board with any sort of MAGA agenda, if anything. And so I don't think either candidate would have done that. I think that would have been a wash. But really, it's about the quality of leadership and the style of leadership and the experience and the background and the perspective.
What if they let him? What if they let former Mayor Sam join the squad?
I'm sure he'll be like knocking on their door. I'm sure he's begging to be admitted. Sam is one of those politicians who just desperately wants to be loved. You can kind of tell. So they're always looking for love in all the right or wrong places.
I thought as soon as the turnout and stuff was low, I knew Evan was going to lose, but I didn't know he was going to lose by 20 points.
It's it's narrowed a bit, but it's still pretty significant, and that doesn't reflect where the vote's at now. A lot of votes have been counted, but the percentages don't shift too much. Turnout is going to be lower than I think we all expected here in Santa Clara County when it's all said and done. It'll still be fairly high, but not in the kind of breakout way that we needed or Evan really could have benefited from, basically, and we needed for other more progressive candidates. But for the most part, we did fairly well at the local level. But yeah, obviously the Alameda County results and others don't portend so highly. Anyway,
well,
speaking of which,
yeah, this is one where if I lived in Oakland, it would have been probably a coin toss for me on the recall of the Mayor Sheng Tao. And if it was a coin toss for me, I hate recalls, so I'm assuming she just got fucking a 2-1. I'm guessing 2-1.
That was the final result, actually, but in favor of the recall, it looks like. But we'll see more from NBC.
Political uncertainty still in the air tonight in the East Bay 4 days after the election, and ballots are still being counted across the Bay Area.
And that includes Alameda County, where we're still waiting for the results of a high-profile recall. Here's where things stand in the effort to oust DA Pamela.
Ooh, yikes.
65% of voters say yes, ouster, but there are still too many uncounted ballots to make a final call.
Another highly watched race.
It's less votes, but she outperformed by one.
Last night after 2 years in office. So what comes next for the town? Here's NBC Bay Area's Alyssa Gord.
With one high-profile recall apparently decided in Alameda County, all eyes turn to the effort to oust District Attorney Pamela Price.
There are some very high-profile elections that people are watching, and we're just trying to get an accurate count.
Currently, 65% of the ballots counted are in support of the recall, which has Price's opponents celebrating. But Price says she's waiting for every vote to be tallied.
Well, we still have half the votes out to count, and every vote does matter.
Even with votes still out, Oakland Mayor Sheng Tao is accepting a recall is imminent, marking the first time in Oakland's history a mayor has.
Oh, take off that Harris Walls shirt if you get the fuck out of here. Don't. I mean, whatever.
A smooth transition.
Never mind.
So
she's like, whatever, fuck it.
Tao will not be.
Should have wore a Mondale shirt.
Normally removed until December when the results are certified. Then the city's charter says the council president, Nikki Fortunato Bass, will take over as mayor. But this could complicate things. Bass is also a candidate for Alameda County Board of Supervisors. The latest numbers show she's trailing her opponent with 46% of the vote.
Oh, then drop out and take the mayorship.
If Bass wins,
don't be a dummy.
Council will have to elect a new council president.
The election's not over until I certify the election. We're working through the weekend, both Saturday and
Oh, wait, she was running in this election.
We're also going to be working on Veterans Day.
Alyssa Gordon, NBC, Bay Area News.
Oh, God.
Yes. So Nikki was running. She didn't have to run for her council seat. She was midterm there, so she could conceivably run for and lose the supervisor seat and just go back to the council and finish her term on the council. So the question was whether or not if she won the supervisor's race, then she would be appointed to that position, and then someone would have to replace her on the council. They'd have to replace her as council president, and that person would be the one that would take over on an interim basis until they could hold an election to replace the mayor. Fully. So yeah, just a freaking mess. And I think you're not alone in terms of, and you're actually an Alameda County resident, but an Oakland resident. You're not alone in feeling sort of the coin toss there. A lot of folks I talk to, they don't like recall either, but they also just really do not like Sheng Tao, and they don't feel that she acquitted herself very well in any of the sort of the issues that have been cited or she was dealing with, the controversy she was dealing with, the raid in her house, right? The investigation, things of that nature. So there's enough smoke there that it made it viable. And right now, to be honest, I think there's just a throw everyone the fuck out of office kind of mentality. And so being an incumbent was not necessarily, although in some smaller cities, right, it kind of worked out because there's just not a lot of awareness in school boards. With these higher profile races, there's just a massive effort to just clean house right now with the voters, no matter who you are or what your values are, right? I mean, just look at what happened in the national race. That was not some sort of mandate for MAGA policies. That was an indictment of the current administration for whatever reason, right? Justly or unjustly.
I mean, I said it on Sunday.
Leadership.
I said it on Sunday. The Democrats need to learn that, like, Republicans, do you know who they vote for? They vote for Republicans.
Yeah, right.
So
right. And we need to embrace the people that vote for Democrats and not try to embrace necessarily these my folk or our folk, right? The white men, the folks who just aren't going to be there for us and haven't been there for us. It's really about embracing Black and brown communities even more so, right? If we need them to turn out 96%, then let's get them to turn out 96% for Democrats. But that didn't happen. And that's a lot of why I think these races, even locally, that didn't happen. And that's why a lot of these races went the way they did. You can look in Santa Clara County, in our little progressive burg, and a full quarter to almost 30% of the electorate voted for the president-elect.
Yeah.
So, they live on our streets down, right around the corner. And that's ultimately why I think you saw these recalls succeed and the other races go the way they did. But anyway, so we heard what was happening next with the Oakland mayor in terms of how that process plays out. It looks like Nikki Fortunato Bass will be the new mayor of Oakland on an interim basis. I think she's Filipino, so hey, I'm all for that. But at least the Filipinos will claim her, even if she's 1/16th. But now we're going to find out more about what happens and it looks like Pamela Price is getting recalled. She just hasn't conceded yet. It's the only difference. So we're going to find out more about the next steps here.
Well, a county supervisor described the Alameda County DA's office today as a fragile ecosystem that needs to be restabilized. That interim DA will have to be carefully vetted because the next election for that post is still 2 years away.
Oh, they'll just get recalled.
County DA Pamela Price appears likely to be recalled, so who will replace her? First, the Board of Supervisors must appoint an interim DA who would serve until the next election in 2026.
I want to make sure it's the most qualified individual.
Wait, can you recall somebody that was appointed? Yeah, you can, right?
And work with their colleagues, especially at this very sensitive time.
Alameda County Supervisor Keith Carson, who was anti-recall, is retiring in January after 32 years on the board. He says supervisors will have to carefully weigh candidates with the goal of stabilizing the DA's office.
That we get the ecosystem of the criminal justice system kind of at least back in shape with respect to at least the district attorney's office up and operating.
The first thing that anybody who comes in, whether it's me or anybody else, has to be to unify the office. Unify the office in mind, spirit, and goal.
Butch Ford is a candidate to replace Price. He was a 23-year Alameda County prosecutor and vocal Price critic who jumped to San Francisco DA Brooke Jenkins' office after Price became DA.
Oh, that tracks.
Accused him of interfering in a criminal case, but that charge was dismissed. If he becomes DA, Ford tells me he's not interested in ridding the office of attorneys hired by Price.
The baseline for what it takes to be a competent district attorney is not difficult to figure out. As long as somebody qualifies and meets that baseline, then they'll be welcome to stay. But everybody will be expected to contribute to the well-being of the office and, more importantly, the well-being of this community.
They inferentially have received a referendum or a mandate from the voters. We don't want the liberal approach.
KTVU legal analyst Michael Cardoza says the board should listen to the will of the people.
The board's going to have to choose very wisely. They have to get someone that understands criminal law background, but just as importantly, with experience in running an office.
Price will stay on as DA until the recall results are certified. Until the board's interim pick, the office will be run by her number 2, Chief Assistant DA Royal Roberts, who was only sworn in as an attorney in 2022.
Well,
I did reach out today to 2 others DA candidates. One was unavailable for comment. The other declined to comment until the recall vote is certified. Live in Oakland, Henry Lee, KTVU, Fox 2 News.
Henry with a sort of false ending there.
Yeah, it seemed like it was over, and then that's doing live news is hard. Whatever.
Yeah, no, it's
we never make
challenging.
mistakes on our live show.
That's true, and poor Henry's probably nowadays trying to shoot and edit it all together himself. Alone in a car and not a van. So good on him. Good on him. Good on all our local news people. Yeah. So yeah, it
was a bloodbath. They got clobbered.
Yeah, it was not even close. Now I don't know how much has to do with anything. Like I said, there's definitely an anti-incumbent throw the bastards out kind of mentality right now. Enough of people who more likely needed to turn out. Again, in this case, the same kind of people that Evan needed to turn out in his race did not turn out here and vote, obviously, to protect their own, because I think there is a bit of racism in both of these cases and in the one we're going to see in a second here in these races. And they also just, I don't think either one of them did themselves any favors personality-wise or approach-wise. I think neither one of them really approached this from the right perspective of the recall and had a good message or had a coherent message around why they should stay and why they shouldn't be recalled or why people should reject the recall. I don't think either one of them really articulated that. They both articulated that they were annoyed by the recall.
Which, like that, isn't that like a goes without saying, right?
Of course, yeah. And all of us are, right? Like the fact that, but they also ignored the fact that this was not like the Newsom recall or others where it was not a special election. This was being held during a regular election with regular old white folk turnout, and old white folks are really susceptible to these kind of good government, clean up government messages. So I don't think they did enough to fight back. I don't think they had the right message. And ultimately, I don't think enough people came to their aid because they've neither one of them, from what I understand, at least from people who are in the county and know things that I do not know, they've not really made a lot of friends in their short time in offices, and that's really important to do, even in short terms like this. You really need to leverage every chance you get as an incumbent until your reelection, right? Like it's really that first term. You're so vulnerable. You've got to make inroads. You've got to build relationships where you don't have them, and you have to maintain where you do have them. And unfortunately, they did not do that and did not have enough partners with them in this battle. And there were so many other battles to be had that the partners that they could have had didn't have the time for them. So it's unfortunate, but reality of where we're at right now. I didn't expect the margins to be that substantial, but that's where we're at.
Yeah. I mean, based on what we saw nationwide, the margins being like this actually aren't surprising in hindsight. But that's the problem, is hindsight and a surprise don't really go together. So.
Yeah, the recalls themselves being successful, that's not so surprising. I think, but the gap, the margins, I think it's and eye-opening, and it should be alarming that level of sentiment exists out there.
All right, now we're going to move to the San Francisco race, which we were watching, and go with no surprise here.
Mayor Breed is no more Mayor Breed, or at least won't be in a couple months, and she'll be replaced by the heir to the Levi's fortune. So we're all about to get denimed.
We brought it to you live right here on KPIX. Now Mayor-elect Daniel Lurie reflecting on his path to City Hall.
I entered this race not as a politician, but as a dad who couldn't explain to my kids what they were seeing on our streets. In our house, when you love something as much as we love San Francisco, you fight for it. We knew it wouldn't be easy. Our biggest opposition,
look at how filthy it is,
cynicism itself. A gnawing sense that maybe it has to be this way. But I can tell you that after more than 250 meet and greets, 150 merchant walks, and our team knocking on over 140,000 doors, and thousands of open and honest conversations in every neighborhood across 7 square miles, hope is alive and well in San Francisco.
Shut the fuck up.
And Lurie said he received a gracious phone call by current Mayor London Breed, who conceded the race yesterday afternoon. The latest ranked choice vote count shows Lurie ahead of Breed 56.2% to 43.8%.
I called Daniel Lurie earlier today to congratulate him and made it very clear that my team and I stand ready to support him during his transition.
That was Mayor Breed last night. This will be the first time serving in public office for Lurie. The billionaire San Francisco native is also the heir to the Levi Strauss fortune and the founder of the anti-poverty nonprofit Tipping Point. Lurie campaigned on addressing some of the city's toughest challenges, including homelessness and the drug crisis, public safety, and affordable housing.
The fact that he's hoarding billions of dollars is causing homelessness.
As he plans to shake up City Hall. But there are some challenges ahead. He will inherit an estimated $800 million budget deficit in
he just paid off with his billions
over the next 2 years. A significant portion of that budget also comes from federal funding, which could be in jeopardy under the upcoming Trump administration. Lurie will also need to navigate the Board of Supervisors, which could include some new faces. Coming up at 6 o'clock, our Lauren Toms takes a deeper dive into these challenges.
He was looking strong at the end, so.
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of it at first, but this outsider businessman campaign, it's been waiting to be run in San Jose and other cities on the cusp of different on the cusp of evolution that San Francisco is on right now, and it shouldn't be terribly surprising, and it isn't really, at least in the final analysis, and again, it's another. London Breed did everything she could to hold on to all those demographics that you kind of need to in an election like this, and she still got beat. So that says a lot about what voters in San Francisco think right now and what they're looking for. And a lot of them are buying the doom loop. A lot of them are buying the narrative, and it's evidenced by the fact that this guy is able to win with the sort of narrative of I can fix it. I alone can fix it. You need an outsider to fix this mess, right? The politicians have gotten us into this mess, regardless of the fact that, like, you kind of laughed like at the start of his comments. Of course he's a politician. I came into this not as a politician. You've entered a political race. You are a politician. Welcome to the fray, bro.
Right, you are now the mayor.
You're now the mayor, and you are now a politician, so get used to it. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he deals with being the mayor. because it's not all freaking wine and roses, and you can't just do anything you want. It's not like being a tech CEO or a nonprofit director, even, where you just don't have a whole lot of autonomy. You do have to answer to a lot of different powers. So we'll see if I do hope that he does well. I don't wish the city ill. I don't wish him ill necessarily in his duties. I hope that things progress in San Francisco, but I'll have to see what happens.
We'll see. We'll see.
We shall see.
I can't imagine policy-wise him being that incredibly different than London Breed, actually.
It didn't seem like any of them. I think it seemed like everyone but Aaron Peskin was running to be the commander-in-chief more, or to be more tough on crime, or to be more policey, right? Like it seemed like everyone was, all the white dudes in her were scrambling to be more that, and Peskin was the only one talking about actual issues. So he didn't do badly. I think he finished third. I don't know how ranked choice voting works, but he was the last to be eliminated before these two. So Peskin did well and consolidated a lot of the progressive vote, but there may not be a whole lot of progressive vote right now in San Francisco. And we're going to find out more about that in the next story.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the local news's analysis of the overall election results are. I'm sure it'll be fucking fantastic.
I'm sure it'll be on point and not reactionary at all.
Voters overwhelmingly supported Proposition 36 to increase penalties for drug crimes and retail theft. And earlier this year, they approved drug testing for people receiving benefits and expanded police powers. District Attorney Brooke Jenkins was soundly reelected. With outgoing Supervisor Aaron Peskin, the board will lose at least one progressive. Our Wilson Walker on the changing tides in the city by the Bay.
We still have a lot of ballots to count, so we don't know exactly how things are going to go. But what we really hope to see in potentially a new era of San Francisco politics is more collaboration between people.
A new era in San Francisco politics. Sachin Agarwal is thinking big. And why not? His Grow SF group launched barely 4 years ago, and since then they have successfully campaigned to recall 3 progressive school board members, a progressive district attorney. Earlier this year, they won a raft of centrist reforms at the ballot box, and now it appears they will get one of their moderate choices for mayor and still more moderates on the Board of Supervisors.
Yeah, I don't think it's about any of these labels. I think it is just about the basics working in the city. Like, our government should deliver for the citizens here.
What I'm seeing in this election is that they were looking for complete control. And they didn't get it. It looks right now like they didn't get it. Like, the progressives are still holding their own in some areas. Now, let's keep in mind, we have not had a progressive mayor in San Francisco since 1987 when Art Agnos won.
Tim Redmond, longtime writer at 48 Hills, says progressives will lose some more ground on the board in this election, with 2 more races still up in the air, but he says all of that should be put into some context.
But it looks like Supervisor Connie Chan may win in District 1, and Dean Preston may win in District 5, and Prop D is going down, and Jackie Fielder, who's a very progressive candidate, may win in District 9. So at a time when national politics looks really bleak, it looks like progressives in San Francisco are still holding their own against a really massive billionaire assault.
Do you have any concern, now that we've gone through a couple cycles like this, that sort of pointing at the funding is maybe ineffectual?
Right. That's the big question, of course, and it's the same question with, things like ethics violations. Right. Mark Farrell just got this huge fine. Do the voters really care? Can we, as progressives, and I'm a journalist, but as from 48 Hills, but as you know, I'm a progressive journalist. Can we make that point that it's not just the money, it's the agenda behind it?
I think people in San Francisco, they just want the basics to work. And our leaders in the city all have been failing at that.
Now, as we await that next batch of numbers, look at this. Connie Chan won the District 1 race in 2020, beating Marjan Philauer by 123 votes. This is the rematch that you're looking at now, separated by just 35 votes. And over in District 5, you can see Bilal Mahmood with about a 1,000 vote edge over Dean Preston. So it is not just the mayor's race. You have 2 progressive supervisors fighting to hold on to their seats as well. So a lot to watch as we all wait to see what kind of shape San Francisco government takes next year.
Well, that was interesting. I didn't expect that they would have like a journalist from a very progressive outlet on to talk about like what was going on. That was pretty surprising, actually.
I liked him with his T-shirt. Like the dueling T-shirts was really fun. Like the Grow SF versus the 48 Hills T-shirts. I like the guy in his stepmom's basement ranting and raving. I love it. Definitely our kind of people. Well, it had to be seen what the final result here is, and I think it's much ado about nothing anyway. It's still San Francisco. I mean, it's shades of blue when it comes down to it, right? And it's still going to be crazy as ever, no matter who's in office. But again, incumbents not faring so hot, pretty much across the board. You see that eye, and it's just not going to do you many favors, especially when the other side has resources to get out and build the case that you're just out of touch and doing things all the wrong way.
So we're going to move on to winners and losers, where there are no winners, and our first story is pretty bad, although I am glad that they said the building was evacuated, because evacuating people means something else.
Correct. Yes, and evacuating of people, there's all sorts of implications there. So shall we see what happened? The registrar of Santa Clara County, they were in the process of counting ballots, and some jackass decided that they were going to interrupt that.
A bomb threat caused a setback for election officials in Santa Clara Saturday. Investigators say the threat came in through email at about 8:30 yesterday morning. Authorities evacuated 4 different buildings on the county's election office campus. The bomb squad was called out to sweep those buildings, and the counting of ballots was suspended. Thankfully, no bomb was found and no injuries were reported.
The sheriff's office and also our county security, they are working together to sweep the offices. I saw a few puppies over here sniffing and barking.
Santa Clara County still has to process about 200,000 ballots from Tuesday's election. Officials tell us they lost about 5 hours of work yesterday, but will work weekends and overtime to finish that counting. They say the incident will not impact their ability to certify the election.
Well, that sucks.
Yes, but good that it's not going to permanently impede anything. I'm glad that everyone is safe, but it's just reflective of something that's happening across the nation. We saw bomb threats called into voting centers. There is a concerted effort just to curtail, stop, slow walk, stall our democratic processes and our elections, which should be in our country, at least our nation, some of the most sacred things that we have. It's the most sacred right that we have to be able to vote and express our voice and to have that voice be heard. And now we can actually prove that the ballot was counted too, which is always nice. Hopefully no more shenanigans like this. We get a nice, accurate count, because folks are already upset about how long this stuff takes, and no matter what the cause, bomb threats or otherwise, inclement weather, any more delays and any more reason that we can give, any more fodder and we can give to their fire is not going to do us much good in terms of increasing voter competence and voter engagement and citizen engagement in our elections. So we need to make these things as smooth and as functional and as accurate as possible if we want people to actually participate and think that they have a voice.
All right, well, we're going to move on to the next story. We've been covering this for a couple of weeks, and it has nothing to do with the election, and yikes.
Yeah, trigger alert on this one, just for anyone who is sensitive to these kind of issues. But our disgraced former council member Omar Torres last week did the triple whammy, resigned, was arrested, and has been arraigned. So we're going to find out more about the legal situation, and then we'll have a story about the political situation.
Well, former San Jose Councilmember Omar Torres appeared in court for the first time to face new charges of sexual assault involving a minor. It comes a day after his resignation and arrest. Our Kelsey Thord is live in San Jose with the latest development. Kelsey.
Hey, Ryan. Yeah, as you said, Omar Torres faced a judge for the first time today. His arraignment happened earlier this afternoon. He faces charges of sexually abusing a child back in the late 90s. And now, of course, this is a case that has really sent shockwaves through the community. So several of the local city leaders came out today to show people that they're taking this case very seriously.
These still photos from inside the courthouse show San Jose City Council member Omar Torres for the first time since his arrest. Wearing a county jail jumpsuit and shackles, Torres stood behind a sheriff's deputy as he was arraigned on 3 felony counts of child sexual assault. Video cameras were not allowed in the courtroom for the arraignment, but Chief Assistant District Attorney Jay Boyarsky spoke with reporters right after the hearing.
Mr. Torres was remanded without bail, and he remains in custody.
Torres was arrested Tuesday after San Jose police say the victim in this case came forward on Monday, alleging Torres molested them back when they were a minor close to 25 years ago.
The survivor is a known person to Torres. The alleged assaults started when both the survivor and Torres were minors and continued after Torres became an adult, but while the survivor was still a minor.
Chief Joseph says the investigation into the victim's allegations led to the discovery of evidence corroborating their allegations. An arrest warrant for Torres was issued just 24 hours later, and he was taken into custody not long after. Torres' arrest has sent shockwaves through City Hall.
I know I speak on behalf of the entire council when I say that we are absolutely horrified by these allegations and want to assure the public that Councilor Torres will, while receiving due process, absolutely justice will be served in this case. I have full faith in our department and our DA in that regard.
These latest allegations are separate from another ongoing investigation into Torres for allegedly molesting a minor and exchanging lewd text messages. Mayor Matt Mahan is asking anyone with information to come forward.
If you have any information related to this case, the initial ongoing investigation, or other cases involving harm to children, I implore you to reach out to the San Jose Police Department, whether you are a member of the public or you work for the city of San Jose.
Now, Torres is expected back in court on November 14th. If he's convicted of these crimes, he could spend up to 24 years in prison. Ryan?
Yeah, when they said, because I was thinking about how old he was, and I was like, 25 years ago, he was a minor. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And for a moment, I was like, well, what about the Romeo and Juliet stuff? I'm like, oh, I bet the age gap was not such, where it wasn't like he turned 18 and they were still 16 or something like that, right?
Right. Not tremendous. I mean, it probably was around the time he was 18 or 19. But this was with even a younger kid. Like we're talking, I hate to get into it, but we're talking about a younger kid, middle school age-ish kid. So yeah, it definitely was not appropriate no matter what was going down, but it's just unfortunate across the board. So,
and it seems like he sort of allegedly continued doing similar behavior, even possibly while he was a sitting city council person.
Yeah. Yes. Or maintaining relationships, as he would put them, probably with or the police would put them with minors. Yeah.
So I'm going to get on my, if this happened like on like, if you met these people on dating apps, obviously, like, it's not the dating app's fault and it's not the victim's fault. But I'm going to get on something I've been talking about for a long time. I feel like a lot of these dating apps could garner a lot of goodwill with the public if they just fucking age verify everybody that joins the dating app.
If they did, yeah, that, and I'm sure other things, but yeah, just very simple stuff like that, right? I would absolutely help to clear the air. I don't know how, council member came into relationships with the folks he did, but and through what resources. I can tell you this much, like I've said before, that this was not an unknown commodity. This is not an unknown issue. Absolutely not the minor aspect of it, right? Or even the non-consensual aspects of it, but just the vibe of being at Democratic conventions and party politics, and just the way that these kind of things are allowed to happen, and people kind of look the other way, and people have affairs, dalliances, everyone goes home with everyone, and everyone looks the other way, and no one really thinks too much of it until these kind of things
right. I mean,
but,
like, I don't go anymore, but when I was going to Netroots Nation, I was on my best fucking behavior there. I wasn't fucking half a Netroots Nation.
You would hope not, because it would be on the internet like 5 seconds later.
Well, maybe not back
right?
then, but now. But then,
Right.
also, I don't know. I'm single. If I went to Netroots, I might get some Netroots nookie.
Yeah. With our party conventions, it's like it seriously is like some sort of, folks think they're in some sort of alternate universe where no one's watching and anything goes, and it's weird. Like, people's inhibitions get turned completely off, and it's not in a good way. That's why I stopped going, because the vibe is not.
Yeah, in our streaming
fun.
community, there was a streamer who has allegedly met minors at TwitchCon.
There you go.
with what appears to be intent to have some kind of romantic or sexual encounter with them. And it's interesting that you mentioned at conventions, because it isn't, the joke, there's all these jokes about even at a shoe convention, everybody getting laid. But the joke in there, the reason that it's funny isn't it's not that there's a fucking 15-year-old at the fucking shoe convention, right?
Correct. Right.
But at stuff
And-
like TwitchCon and Democratic events, there are going to be minors there who are
Absolutely
engaged politically. And
absolutely. I mean, I just got a campaign where, we had 40 some odd high school interns coming to help out once a week, and surrounded by young adults and others, and we vet people as much as we can, and we sign codes of conduct, but we have there's very little way to really do the kind of oversight and accountability you need to make sure that everything's happening on the up and up. You just have to trust that you have good people, right? And you have good people involved with you, and you're not going to have those issues, but they could happen anytime. And we don't do enough to safeguard the young people that get engaged in this work, because we're also dealing with power too, right? And you're dealing with people in power and with authority, and that becomes a whole separate level of intimidation and factors into these relationships, right? So that's where the quote consent
an example here,
gets gray.
and I don't personalize stuff too much. An example here would be if I was at TwitchCon, if I were to hook up with another streamer, whatever. If I were to hook up with one of my viewers, probably not great.
Right. So yeah, it is a space where there's just not a lot of inhibition left. So
yeah.
Anyway, well, that's the legal aspect of it. I hate to get into it but it has to be done, because it is the story of the day. It happened. This all happened on Election Day, by the way, last week. So
fun.
So not only was all that madness happening, those of us who know Councilmember personally and know all the players involved personally, it's very traumatizing week for us, in addition to what happened nationally. So anyway, this is now the political fallout, because of course, now that he's resigned, they're going to have a process and people lining up to replace him. Here's more about that.
KTV South Bay reporter Jesse Gary live at San Jose City Hall tonight with a look at both of these possibilities and the people already vying for that political seat. Jesse.
Christina, good evening to you. An appointment would be quicker,
nice tie.
easier. A special election costs more, takes longer. Whichever path the council chooses the next time they meet here at City Hall, interested parties and observers say they are glad they can finally plot a path forward from Omar Torres. As Councilman Omar Torres waits in jail for a bail hearing, plans to find his replacement in city government are taking shape.
We need somebody who's 100% behind D3, because in the past, there have been folks who have used D3 as a platform to get to the next job. And lots of times D3 has been left behind.
Former council candidate Irene Smith penning a letter to District 3 residents Wednesday morning, calling on the city council to hold a special election to fill Torres' seat. We need to come together as neighbors, friends, and colleagues and rebuild our shattered body politic. We need to demand an election.
The city charter gives us two options, a special election or a temporary appointment. I personally prefer a special election. I think it's just fundamental to our American democracy.
Mayor Matt Mahan isn't alone. Former suitors for this political seat are now showing renewed interest in serving a district that includes downtown, Japantown, the Hensley neighborhood, and others.
I've been very active, especially in downtown and other parts of D3. So
I think I remember her on the Zoom call. I think we liked her.
Enthusiasm for improving San Jose has not diminished.
Insiders worry appointing a replacement instead of holding a special election may not provide the best results for this multi-layered district.
The only way you appoint somebody is if the person who finished second is in the running and the fucking election was hell close. Then you could be like, listen, we're going to save you all a bunch of money. This is the second. This person came in like second by a squeak, right? That's the only way. Otherwise, you got to do a special election because we're not like 6 months out. We're 2 years out.
Yeah, that would be Irene, and it was not close. So
there we go.
There you go.
And it's coming up soon. We need to make sure that the council member is strong in defending and presenting downtown businesses and make sure that we get the funding that we need in order to continue to redevelop ourselves.
Funding also an issue for the path forward. An appointment is quicker and cheaper, as the council did just 2 years ago to fill 2 vacant seats. A special election, more time-consuming and costly.
By the city charter, they can do that 117 days after the council acts. So that's going to be sometime this spring. Based on the rules of elections in San Jose, if there isn't a majority, there's going to be a runoff election.
All the while, the residents of the most densely populated, most diverse section of the city will have to rely on the mayor's office for representation.
Through the mayor's office and have
not great with this mayor
office and the District 3 office to answer their questions, help them with permitting, potholes, whatever may come up.
The mayor says the council will take up this issue at its meeting on November the 19th. Remember, next week is Veterans Day. A 6-vote majority is needed, but also remember, only 9 members are voting. Omar Torres is in jail. He
doesn't get to vote.
Effective on the 27th. The mayor says he has been stripped of all power, so he will not be voting. We're live outside San Jose City Hall this evening. Jesse Gary, KTVU, Fox 2 News. Christina, back.
Yeah, I don't like special elections because it skews the electorate pretty strongly in a certain direction, but I can't see just a justification for an appointment here.
Why the primary justification would be, well, precedent. We just did this literally like last year in January in 2023 after 2 not unexpected but elections triggered vacancies on the council. So and that was an even shorter time to the election this year for both of those races, District 8 and 10. As it turned out, one of the appointees got through and was elected, or quote unquote re-elected, and one of the incumbents got trounced by one of the mayor's actually supported candidates. So the most recent precedent is that they did do an appointment, and the justification there was to have representation for the district as soon as possible, because the longer you go without it, especially with the budget process coming up, the residents are going to be missing out. They're not going to get the representation they deserve with the mayor's office sort of overseeing.
And there's
their
no
office.
there's no hybrid solution where
there actually, I was just about to get very astute, Bruce Dave. There is a hybrid solution in that they could appoint an interim council member. This has happened before in District 4, where they appointed someone who had been a former member of the council for that district to steward the office for the 9 months or so that it took to call the special election, have an election, have a runoff, and then have that vote certified. By the time all this goes down, even if we started it today, you'd be looking at this council member taking office in August or September, the new one. And that would, that's an entire budget cycle is going to get passed while we're going through a budget deficit right now. And every district needs a representative to look out for their needs during the budget process. And these folks would just miss out and get screwed. So, I think I would personally prefer that hybrid approach. I think that's the most sensible solution. Find someone who's doesn't want to run, but knows what they're doing, can come back or come to the city and
possibly
do this work.
Whoever had that seat before Mr. Torres.
Right, like Councilmember Parales, who's now a police officer again. I'm sure he wouldn't mind getting off the street for a little while longer and going back to his old gig if asked to serve. But yeah, someone like that, or if Cindy Chavez were available. Frankly, she was once the council member for that area. She's on her way to New Mexico, so she's not. So she's a little busy right now, moving to a new job. But yeah, that's something I think that makes sense. But it looks like the mayor is pushing for a special election because he believes he can get one of his supporters more than likely elected in a special election. Whereas it's a little more difficult in an appointment process where you have to deal with the majority of the council as it is now, and that majority is somewhat aligned against the mayor. So he probably feels that he's got a better. It's not so much about democracy for him. I guarantee it. It's more about I can get my friendly face elected in a special election. I have less of a chance of doing that in an appointment. And by the way, he made the exact same argument when they did the appointments 2 years ago, that we should, even though one of them was his seat that had become vacant, his council seat, he argued that they should do a special election. But it turned out that the council did an appointment process, and his opponents won out in one race and got their person, and then got pretty much a middle of the road council member who's now been ousted into the other seat. So the mayor, probably hedging his bets, thinks that a special election is better for him.
Yeah, I like the hybrid solution, and especially if it's somebody who's not politically ambitious, maybe somebody who termed out before or whatever, maybe even somebody who's ineligible to run because they termed out before, so that way they don't get that incumbent bias going into the special election. I feel like that's the best way to do it. I don't know who you mentioned the previous person who had that seat. I don't know if they termed out or if they were defeated, but
they did term out. Yeah.
Oh, so they would be ineligible to run anyway, correct?
Yeah, and he ran for mayor and was unsuccessful as well in that race. So I think he'd be. If he was available and they could get him leave from the police department, I think that he'd be a perfectly reasonable interim solution.
I'm not in favor of appointing cops to things, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm also just not in favor of 9 council members, or I guess it would be 8 in this case. No, 9. Sorry, and 10, including the mayor. People who are not other than the mayor, people who are not elected by those residents choosing their representative. That's just it. I do agree with that has always struck me as.
Especially if it's like the downtown core of a city.
It's very specific. It's a very specific neighborhood too, in a very specific area, and with its own needs and relationships, right? So yeah, it's not so. I'm not so enthusiastic about that happening. But again, I'm also about representation and expedience too. So let's see if we can get both.
Yeah, that would be the smart thing to do. So that's what's not going to happen.
Of course. Come on. All right. Well. We do have to move along. This week, I kind of wanted to throw this under, down ballot, but then it was under winners and losers. But now I'm really realizing it's a get your shit together story, because it's about Antioch, and I think anything about Antioch these days is getting your shit together. So there was a new mayor elected in Antioch, and we're going to find out. We're going to find out. Sorry, we're going to find out about the challenges that he faces now that he's ousted the current mayor, who we kind of liked.
Okay, across the bay, another political shakeup. Antioch Mayor Lamar Hernandez Thorpe appears to be heading out. You can see the race wasn't even close. And former city Ron Bernal has 63% of the vote. As Kara St. Cyr shows us, the new mayor will have a lot on his plate.
Ron Bernal is Antioch's mayor-elect after a landslide win over incumbent Lamar Hernandez Thorpe. Resident James Davis hopes this means a new, safer chapter for his favorite part of the city.
As far as crime, it's wide open. The young folks, right, still in high school. I think they need more law enforcement out here, to really just be present.
Antioch saw a violent summer, with 20 shootings in September alone, 4 in just one weekend. The mayor-elect links the violence to an understaffed police force. After a scandal involving racist text messages, nearly half of the city's law enforcement was put on leave, leaving the public vulnerable. Bernal hopes to start his improvements there.
Really, it's a matter of the fact that we don't have enough people, specifically in the police department, to address the public safety issues. We need a permanent police chief. We need to have the 40-plus vacancies filled with people that are community policing oriented.
Hernandez Thorpe's administration was slowly building back the force, with 40 new officers added since the scandal. But the mayor-elect says the community needs to trust the newest recruits and each other again.
Fish and chicken
His
place
solution
was
is
probably
creating after-school programs for kids and getting the district and the schools on the same page again.
Right now the kids don't have a lot to do, and so I want to reestablish the partnership with the school district.
Mayor Hernandez Thorpe acknowledged the loss Wednesday night, saying he left Antioch a better place than he found it. He told us over the phone he's confident he left the best resources for Bernal to better the city.
There's a host of things that I know we've built a strong foundation for that I think the new mayor and the new city council can take advantage of.
That kind of sucks, because I liked that guy. Like, every time shit went fucking sideways in Antioch, the dude he leaned in, took responsibility, called people out on their shit, fucking got hella mad at the city council meetings and shit because of the fucking way the other people that run the city were behaving. Like,
yep. And this is what you get for being that guy, right? For being the stand-up guy and owning it. You get ousted, just like all the other incumbents seem to be getting the boot in favor of this, white savior bro dude. Like, come on, like our kids need.
We'll see
more
how he does. We'll see. I mean, he was making the right
do.
noises about like community policing and getting like people involved with the schools and stuff.
Yeah, it's all, to me, it's just all platitudes, and this just smacks of just racism, frankly, and just this guy did not deserve to get ousted that awfully. Like, most of this shit wasn't even his fault, is the thing. He's just the guy that happened to be in charge.
He was the guy that fucking put the hammer down on this shit, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. He was just the guy that happened to be in charge when the shit went down, and exactly did his very best and was doing his very best to try to. So good luck to this guy, the challenger, and in his new gig. I hope he is successful. Again, yeah, I agree. I hope he's successful. I don't wish him ill. I wish the people of Antioch well. But yeah, again, surprise me, bro.
And another thing, usually it's vehicle versus building, but apparently it's going to be like sledgehammer versus car tire.
People versus buildings.
So we'll just let this one roll.
Yeah, we all need a release these days. So this is what some people are doing.
Meantime, a lot of Bay Area voters, anxious about the election before it happened, are even more stressed out now. Wait till you see how they're crushing it. Amanda Harry has that story.
Oh, God.
Results still rolling in from the election, many people are working through their feelings and still processing it. Here at the Bay Area Smash Room, some people are smashing things to work through it.
This is the loudest speaker. Let's go!
After a long 2-year election cycle, some voters are frustrated. With polarizing candidates and issues, some people have uncertain feelings about the results, like Alice Landale.
Not great, not terrible.
Landale says days later, she's still carrying some of the weight of the election with her.
I wasn't too happy with the results of the election, obviously, but I mean, you do what you can, you know? And I think that just being here will let me kind of get out some of the feelings that I have.
So she's suited up and headed into the Smash Room. Jordan Aban works the front desk at Bay Area Smash Room. He says Landale isn't the only person choosing to break things to deal with the results.
Amongst a lot of things that they come here frustrated about, I would say the election is something they've been frustrated about recently.
And he gives them some simple guidelines to make the most of their time in the Smash Room.
Just go crazy, get all your frustrations out. I want to hear you laugh, scream, cry, whatever you need to get out, I want to hear it.
That's a nice guy.
William Roberson also works at the Smash Room. He wants to create a safe place for people to process whatever they're going through. He believes
I clean up the shit.
it's been on people's minds for a while now.
I've noticed a lot of posts on the wall that are related to just what's been going on probably the last 4 years. And some of the statements are, I guess, insensitive, I would say, but that's people letting out their frustrations.
Although it may sound loud and chaotic, it brings Landale peace.
Well, it's like a catharsis, and you feel the release of emotions, and I mean, there's part of that, but I think more it's an enjoyable way to kind of just vent all your feelings,
The most consistent thing I've heard from people here is they leave with a smile, and they say that's needed during divisive times.
Whatever works.
Whatever
works. And with
I think that's the second time we've covered the Smash Room.
Either that one, or there was definitely another one, or the axe throwing, maybe. At some point, we've definitely done. There's a lot of new ways that people are getting their yayas out and getting their aggressions out. I mean, hey, at least they're doing this, not beating each other up and killing each other, and going on next door to rant at each other. So hey. More power to you. If you need to smash some shit, you don't have your own garage full of shit like I do, and a baseball bat. Enjoy this. Enjoy some time with coworkers. It's a good team building experience, from what I hear. But if you need to smash some shit, I have plenty of shit at my house you can come smash, and I have 2 baseball bats, so we can have some fun.
Very nice. So just for viewers, not much probably going to change around here on Downballot. So just make sure you tune in every week. We're still going to be covering local politics and local news here. And with that,
Yes.
Councilman, you mind reading the show out?
Absolutely. Yes. Have no fear. Downballot is here to wade through the local derp with you every week at 7:30 Pacific. And sometimes we don't, but that's only because we're just so damn busy. Well, we love you and we'll always come back to you. We'll be back here next week in this space. Stay tuned for public comment in the red light portion of the show. As always, it's going to be an adventure with producer Dave and all the goings on in the public comment sphere. And stay tuned to all of the wonderful programming here. Make sure you get vaxxed. Make sure you wear a mask. Pants are optional. We're going to leave you with some audible smoke. Have a great week. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing green. Here at the front of the stage waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later we're all singing Queen. I get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy